The narrative commences by introducing the female protagonist, Nan Xiang, a woman who has ascended to the prominent position of director within her company. The opening scenes immediately establish her formidable and uncompromising character. She strides into her office with an air of unassailable authority, and in a display of ruthless efficiency, summarily dismisses an employee without a hint of hesitation or visible remorse. Following this stark demonstration of her professional demeanor, she is approached by her close friend Mei, who extends an invitation for Nan Xiang to attend an upcoming school reunion. However, Nan Xiang, entirely consumed by her corporate responsibilities and seemingly disinterested in nostalgic pursuits, curtly refuses the offer. Mei, who works as a writer, has recently authored a book that delves into the intricacies of their shared school experiences, with a particular focus on Nan Xiang's own adolescent years. Intrigued despite herself, Nan Xiang begins to read the manuscript, but overcome by fatigue, she drifts into a deep slumber while its pages are still open. Upon awakening, Nan Xiang is thrust into a reality she cannot immediately comprehend. The sterile, modern environment of her office has vanished, replaced by the familiar yet distant surroundings of her old-school classroom. She finds herself surrounded by her former classmates, all of whom are diligently focused on completing an examination. Disoriented and still operating with the mindset of a corporate director, she attempts to use the teacher's telephone to convene an urgent business meeting, only to be met with bewilderment from the person on the other end of the line, who fails to recognize her or her authority. This initial confusion is compounded when our attention is drawn to the male lead, Xion, who is conversing with his group of friends. One of these friends gestures pointedly towards Nan Xiang and informs Xion that she is the individual responsible for him receiving a beating. The backstory as it unfolds reveals that this friend had been caught with a mobile phone on school premises, an infraction that Nan Xiang had reported, leading to his punishment. Throughout this exchange, Xion himself observes Nan Xiang with a gaze that is intense, unreadable, and laden with a peculiar curiosity. In a desperate attempt to jolt herself back to her own time, Nan Xiang resorts to a drastic physical test, pressing a pencil forcefully between her fingers to elicit sharp pain. She operates on the theory that this sensory shock might reverse her inexplicable journey to the past. However, the pain only serves to anchor her more firmly in this reality, cruelly confirming that she remains trapped. Resigned, she returns to her adolescent home, goes through the motions of feeding her pet cat and retires to bed, clinging to the frail hope that she will awaken in her proper timeline. This hope is dashed the next morning when she opens her eyes to the same past she desperately wishes to escape. Frustrated and determined, she begins to voraciously consume books on theoretical physics and time paradoxes, seeking a logical or scientific explanation for her predicament. Her frantic research does not go unnoticed. Xion observes her unusual behavior from a distance. In another bold, self-destructive experiment, she deliberately falls from a chair, only for Xion to approach her and dryly remark on her fortune at having survived the stunt unscathed. Nan Xiang retorts with exasperation, questioning why she hasn't returned to the future and labeling him an irritant. Her subsequent attempts to trigger a return, including administering a minor electric shock to herself, prove equally futile. As a form of punishment for her increasingly erratic conduct, her mother confines her to her room. Undeterred, Nan Xiang manages to escape by stealthily taking her mother's clothes and sets off to what she intends to be a crucial business meeting. In a twist of fate, the individual she meets is none other than the director of the company she will one day lead. She confides in him, explaining her incredible and bewildering situation. She reveals a pivotal regret from her past, her failure to gain admission to a prestigious university after her initial examinations. Given this second chance, she expresses a profound reluctance to relive the academic pressure and potential for failure. The director, however, offers her a new perspective and a powerful incentive. He advises her that when life presents a rare opportunity to rectify past errors, one must seize it with full commitment. He makes her a compelling promise. If she can secure a place at a renowned university in this revisited past, he will guarantee her a position within his company. Seeing the wisdom and opportunity in his words, Nan Xiang agrees to this proposition. Her return to school life is immediately fraught with social challenges. She finds herself assigned to Class 7, a group notoriously labeled as the underachieving and worthless students, while the more academically accomplished pupils, including the popular and handsome Yubai, are in Class 2. Her name is conspicuously absent from the Class 2 attendance sheet, and she is dismayed to be relegated to the company of those she once considered beneath her notice. It is Xion who is tasked with retrieving her and escorting her to the correct, and in her view inferior, classroom, an act that draws mocking laughter from the other students. The tension escalates when a boy named Jianfei is publicly accused of cheating, the very same boy Nan Xiang had reported for the phone incident. His friends confront her, revealing that Jianfei is a close friend of Xion's, thereby implicating her in a conflict with one of the school's most influential figures. Xiaon himself then intervenes, forcibly removing Nan Xiang from the classroom and issuing a thinly veiled threat to make her life difficult if she does not comply with his demands. He takes her to the principal's office to address the Jianfei situation. However, instead of defending Jianfei or clarifying the misunderstanding, Nan Xiang launches into a pedantic lecture about the school's official rules and regulations, further alienating the boy. Feeling betrayed and humiliated, Jianfei shoves Nan Xiang aside in anger, causing a flower pot to crash to the floor in the ensuing scuffle. A petty argument erupts between Nan Xiang and Xiaon over who is responsible for cleaning the mess, each blaming the other's associate. The situation deteriorates further when Jianfei, in a fit of despair, attempts to leave the school permanently. Xiaon manages to intercept him, urging patience and suggesting that the school's final decision regarding his expulsion is not yet certain. Nan Xiang's troubles continue within the classroom. She discovers that her seat has been deliberately vandalized when she demands to know who is responsible. The boy brazenly admits to it. Refusing to be victimized, Nan Xiang simply finds and appropriates an undamaged chair from another desk. This act of defiance is witnessed by their English teacher, who in a subtle display of support orchestrates a clever form of poetic justice. He instructs the vandal to write on the blackboard, and while the boy is distracted, the teacher secretly swaps the broken chair back to its original desk. When the boy returns, he is forced to sit in the very ruin he created, with the teacher calmly decreeing that this would now be his permanent seat. Later, when Nan Xiang approaches the teacher to ask a question, Xiaon and his friends mock her for resuming her studious habits. The harassment intensifies when a student named Daling pours a cup of water over Nan Xiang's head. Displaying remarkable composure and a refusal to be cowed, Nan Xiang retaliates not with violence, but by calmly wiping the water from her own hair and clothes onto Daling's shirt. She correctly deduces that this act of aggression is retribution for her role in the Jianfei incident. The persecution extends beyond the school walls when Xiaon's friends sabotage her bicycle, puncturing its tires. Stranded, she appeals to a teacher for assistance. The teacher in turn instructs Xiaon to lend her his bicycle and have hers repaired. Reluctantly and after some protest, Xiaon is forced to comply. Nan Xiang, seizing the opportunity, simply takes his bicycle and rides away. He later finds her sitting at a juice bar and confronts her, presenting her with the now-repaired bicycle. She coolly informs him that since his friends were the ones who damaged it in the first place, they are now even. Dissatisfied with the clothing her mother has purchased for her, Nan Xiang takes money and goes to a shop to select her own, more mature and stylish outfits. On her way home, she's accosted by a drunken man who begins to harass her. Just as the situation becomes threatening, a basketball comes flying through the air and strikes the harasser squarely on the head. The thrower is revealed to be Xiaon, who steps in and forcefully sends the man on his way. Instead of expressing simple gratitude, Nan Xiang reveals her principled nature by criticizing Xiaon for letting the man go too easily, worrying he might target someone else. Her comment earns her a long, thoughtful stare from Xiaon. She then compliments his aim and thanks him before adding with characteristic bluntness that he should apply the same focus he has for basketball to his academic studies. Xiaon retorts that his academic rank is, in fact, superior to hers. The following day, Nan Xiang deliberately flouts the school's dress code by arriving in the fashionable clothes she bought for herself, drawing stares from the entire student body. She learns from Mei, who is the monitor of Class 7, that Xiaon's academic rank is indeed one place above her own. This information acts as a direct challenge, galvanizing her competitive spirit and sending her immediately to hit the books. In class, Daling continues to agitate against Nan Xiang, suggesting she needs to be taught a lesson for Jianfei's continued absence. Xiaon clarifies that Jianfei has not been formally expelled but is staying away voluntarily, his pride wounded. Another friend, Shuoi, notes that their usual pranks are ineffective against Nan Xiang because she is perpetually studying. Xiaon, undeterred, devises a new plan to disrupt her focus. He falsely complains to the teacher that he cannot see the blackboard from the back of the class and requests to be moved to the seat directly in front of Nan Xiang. When the teacher suggests he wear glasses, Xiaon fabricates a story about spectacles causing him dizziness and nausea. He then signals to another student who volunteers to swap seats. To avoid wasting more class time, the teacher reluctantly agrees to Xiaon's request. Once seated in front of her, Xiaon deliberately blocks Nan Xiang's view of the board. When she tells him to sit properly, the teacher, only seeing her speaking, reprimands her for disrupting the lesson and orders her to write a letter of self-criticism. While Nan Xiang is working on this assignment in the library, her physics teacher confronts her about her hypocrisy, pointing out that despite her talk of academic ambition and a physics competition, she herself scored a meager 18 marks on a recent test. Xiaon, lurking nearby, overhears this damning assessment. Back in the classroom, he seizes the opportunity to humiliate her, demanding she read her self-criticism letter aloud to everyone. Instead of a conventional apology, Nan Xiang uses the platform to deliver a scathing critique of Xiaoan, accusing him of being a disruptive influence who relies on cheap popularity and is single-handedly ruining the future of their entire class. The speech backfires on Xiaoan, with one of his own friends nodding that it seems to be him, not Nan Xiang, who is being publicly shamed. A furious Xiaoan orders her to be quiet. Nan Xiang concludes by defiantly stating that none of his petty schemes will have any effect on her. Xiaoan, shifting tactics, directly challenges her to propose a solution for bringing Jianfei back to school. Nan Xiang logically argues that appealing to the principal or their current physics teacher would be futile. The only viable solution, she posits, is to have their class teacher replaced. When Mei later questions why she is helping Xiaoan, Nan Xiang explains that their current physics teacher is incompetent and cannot manage their class, and a new teacher might be the key to resolving the Jianfei situation. She tasks Xiaoan with the challenge of finding a way to instigate this change. A minor incident occurs when the class cleaning representative assigns Nan Xiang her share of duties. She performs the cleaning without complaint, and Xiaoan, observing her, also completes his own portion before leaving to dispose of the garbage. Later, as Nan Xiang is studying alone in the classroom after hours, Xiaoan blocks her path as she tries to leave. He eventually lets her pass, but as darkness falls, he capitalizes on her apparent fear of the dark, spinning ghost stories to frighten her before finally taking her hand to lead her out of the building. He demands she admit her fear, which she refuses to do. As he pretends to abandon her, she stumbles on the stairs and injures her leg. Xiaoan rushes to her aid, checking her injury before hoisting her onto his shoulders to carry her home, an act witnessed by several students who fuel the school rumor mill. He teases her about her weight, comparing her to a dinosaur, earning himself a smack on the back. The next day he shows up at her house to check on her recovery, and in a gesture that blurs the line between harassment and concern, gives her a ride to school on his bicycle. Xiaoan's campaign of academic sabotage continues. He orchestrates a plot where the entire class, except for Nan Xiang, agrees not to submit their physics homework. Hoping this collective rebellion will convince the teacher to resign. He tricks Nan Xiang into leaving the classroom under false pretenses to prevent her from submitting her work. However, Nan Xiang, ever resourceful, has anticipated their ploy and hidden her completed homework in a locker. When Xiaoan and his friends confiscate her notebook, they find it empty. They eventually find and seize her actual homework. A physical tussle ensues, with Nan Xiang, hampered by her injured leg, trying to jump to retrieve it. Xiaoan warns her to stop, threatening to injure her other leg. In class, the physics teacher laments that only Nan Xiang submitted work, but then reveals that while she attempted all 10 questions, every single answer was incorrect, provoking widespread laughter. Xiaoan later confronts Nan Xiang, having discovered that she had her homework checked by Yubai from class 2. He questions when she became so close with him, his tone laced with a possessiveness he doesn't acknowledge. Nan Xiang dismisses his concerns, telling him his little tricks are ineffective, and to emphasize her point, she boldly grabs and pulls his cheeks. This interaction spurs Yubai, who had been hesitating, to finally decide to participate in the design competition Nan Xiang had encouraged him to enter, remembering her faith in his talent. Nan Xiang then proposes a more strategic approach to Xiaoan for removing the physics teacher, creating a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, to present to the principal. Darling voices concerns about the potential repercussions if the plan fails, but Xiaoan silences her and demands that Nan Xiang explain the methodology. She refuses, stating bluntly that it is his goal to remove the teacher, not hers, and leaves him to figure it out himself. Xiaoan then orders his classmates to compile the analysis. The plot advances to a physics competition. Adhering to Xiaoan's plan, the students of Class 7 deliberately exchange papers and fail them, ensuring everyone receives a 0. Nan Xiang, however, keeps her own paper and genuinely attempts the questions. The results cause a sensation. A student from Class 2 announces that the topper of the notoriously weak Class 7 is none other than Nan Xiang, with a score of 49 marks. While this is a significant improvement from her previous 18, it is still a mediocre score, and the announcement is met with derision. The physics teacher, however, uses the moment to highlight Nan Xiang's personal progress and chastise the rest of the class for their deliberate collective failure. This public shamming causes Xiaoan to feel a pang of guilt, especially when he learns that Mei received a 0 as part of his scheme. During the subsequent award ceremony, the true topper from Class 2, a boy named Genius, gives a speech. When it is Nan Xiang's turn as the topper of Class 7, she uses the platform not for glory but for a powerful indictment of her classmates. She reveals that her victory was only possible because they all scored 0, and she accuses them of not only humiliating her but also disrespecting their teacher. She announces her intention to apologize to the physics teacher. Her speech, witnessed by the principal, coincidentally occurs just as he is considering replacing the physics teacher. Moved by the display of contrition from Nan Xiang, and subsequently the entire Class 7 who follow her lead to apologize, the principal accompanies Xiaoan and Nan Xiang to formally apologize to the teacher. The teacher reveals he will be retiring soon regardless. Nan Xiang then presses Xiaoan to find a new class teacher promptly, lest the school appoints someone who will not support Jianfei's return. Yubai, seeing an opportunity to get closer to Nan Xiang, offers to tutor her in physics. She accepts, and he begins recording lectures for her on a USB drive she provides. Xiaoan observes their growing closeness with visible irritation, questioning why she is mingling so much with students from the elite Class 2. Xiaoan's search for a new teacher narrows down to two candidates, their current English teacher who is angry with him and the esteemed teacher of Class 2, Mr. Lai Osi. Xiaoan first approaches Mr. Lai Osi, who recommends the English teacher for the role. Forced to swallow his pride, Xiaoan offers a sincere apology to the English teacher. However, Mr. Lai Osi is initially appointed as a temporary measure. His high-level, disciplined teaching style proves completely incompatible with the rebellious nature of Class 7, and he is quickly overwhelmed by their antics and constant questions. He promptly recommends to the principal that the English teacher take over. The English teacher, having shrewdly researched the strengths and weaknesses of the key students in Class 7, is well prepared for their challenges. When they attempt to sabotage the projector, he calmly fixes it with tape. He demonstrates his insight by publicly acknowledging Xiaoan's innate leadership qualities, Nan Xiang's problem-solving abilities, and Daling's proficiency in English. His strategic praise and capable handling of the situation win over the class, who agree to accept him as their new class teacher. Xiaoan realizes that Nan Xiang's actions, from her apology speech to her subtle guidance, were instrumental in facilitating this positive outcome for the English teacher. He confronts her, accusing her of having used him and his campaign for her own ends. He issues a final warning, stating that if the English teacher fails to bring Jianfei back, she will face the consequences. The segment concludes with Xiaoan nursing a sense of resentment, feeling manipulated and outmaneuvered by the very person he sought to control. The narrative continues to unfold the complex and evolving dynamic between Nan Xiang and Xiaoan, set against the backdrop of their competitive academic environment. Following the resolution of the class teacher situation, a new day begins with a subtle power play. As Nan Xiang prepares to leave her house, Xiaoan deliberately forgoes using his own bicycle and instead commandeers hers, a small but pointed act of intrusion into her daily routine. Meanwhile, within the school, Class 2 is selected to participate in a promotional video shoot for the institution. Their teacher chooses Yubai and another student, Chenjer, to represent the class. However, Chenjer is deeply reluctant and uncomfortable with the idea of being in front of the camera, creating an immediate dilemma. As the school holidays commence, Nan Xiang, feeling grateful for Yubai's ongoing physics tutoring, decides to treat him to a meal as a gesture of thanks. She acquires money from her mother for this purpose. The sight of Nan Xiang and Yubai sharing a friendly, casual outing together does not go unnoticed by Xiaoan, who observes them from a distance. A potent and unfamiliar feeling of jealousy stirs within him, prompting him to turn and leave the scene abruptly. Shortly thereafter, the student body organizes a group picnic. Xiaoan directly instructs Nan Xiang to meet him there. Initially, she remains at home, prioritizing her studies, but her focus is broken when Xiaoan appears outside her residence and persistently calls for her. She eventually relents and emerges, ready for the outing. Xiaoan is momentarily transfixed by her appearance, simply staring at her before they depart together. At the picnic, the other students invite Nan Xiang to join in their games. At first, she remains on the periphery, immersed in her textbooks, but she eventually allows herself to be drawn into the fun. The games see a mixing of the groups, with Xiaoan deliberately positioning himself on Nan Xiang's team while Chenjer partners with Mei. The atmosphere is lighthearted, and for a brief period, the usual academic tensions are set aside. It is during this gathering that the group receives the welcome news that Jianfei has been officially forgiven by the school and is permitted to return. However, when Jianfei himself arrives, he delivers a surprising declaration. He has decided to leave the school permanently. He explains that his true passion lies not in formal academics but in pursuing a future in painting. Xiaoan moves to dissuade him, but Nan Xiang intervenes, asserting that it is Jianfei's personal decision to make. She suggests to Xiaoan that if he genuinely wishes for his friend to return, he must devise a more compelling and respectful approach rather than applying pressure. In a separate incident, Chenjer is seen giving an exam paper to Xiaoan, while in another location, Yubai is handing a USB drive to Nan Xiang. This seemingly innocent exchange is almost discovered by the school director, who arrives unexpectedly. Xiaoan and Chenjer manage to conceal themselves, but Nan Xiang and Yubai are on the verge of being caught. In a swift move, Xiaoan creates a diversion to save them from reprimand. Yet witnessing Nan Xiang and Yubai together once again fuels his jealousy. He makes a pointed, possessive remark to Chenjer, telling her to go with your guy, while he will go with my girl, before striding off with a confused Nan Xiang in tow. She questions his strange choice of words, but he offers no clear explanation. The day of the promotional shoot arrives, but the female student paired with Yubai proves to be incapable of performing adequately. To salvage the reputation of Class 2, their teacher, Mr. Liu, personally appeals to the reluctant Chenjer, insisting that she must step in. On the day of the shoot, which falls on a Sunday, Nan Xiang is at home assisting her mother, who works long hours in a laundry service. Xiaoan, in contrast, is at his own home, enjoying a leisurely shower. He is in a playful mood, dancing by himself when his doorbell rings. He opens the door without a second thought, only to find Nan Xiang standing there, delivering his cleaned laundry. He is caught completely off guard, standing before her without any clothes on. Flustered and embarrassed, he slams the door shut, scrambles to get dressed at top speed, and then reopens the door to let her in. As Nan Xiang enters and sits down, she immediately notices that in his haste he has put his shirt on inside out. She points this out and he attempts to straighten it, only to make the error more obvious. He then tries to cover his embarrassment with a flimsy and humorous excuse, claiming he prefers to wear his shirts inside out at home. While in his room, Nan Xiang's eyes fall upon a childhood photograph of Xiaoan and Chenjer. She inquires about their relationship, and Xiaoan is quick to downplay it, stating it was merely a photo their mothers had arranged. As she prepares to leave, Nan Xiang, perhaps disarmed by the domestic and vulnerable scene, calls him cute, a comment that leaves a visible impression on him. In a parallel storyline, Yubai's father begins introducing him to the family company, with the clear expectation that Yubai will take over its management after completing his education. The school's promotional video is eventually released and met with widespread acclaim. Chenjer in particular receives numerous compliments on her beauty, but she seems withdrawn and unhappy about the attention. Xiaoan notices her despondency and asks her what is wrong. This concerned interaction is witnessed by Nan Xiang, who misinterprets their closeness and feels a pang of hurt, leading her to walk away. The situation for Chenjer worsens when an unflattering childhood photograph of her where she appears overweight is maliciously leaked and goes viral online. Xiaoan, feeling protective of his childhood friend, vows to help her and immediately turns to Nan Xiang, recognizing her knack for problem-solving. He asks for her assistance in identifying the person responsible for leaking the photo. Nan Xiang, sensing an opportunity, agrees, but only under specific conditions. She has Xiaoan sign a formal and quite severe contract. The terms state that in exchange for her help, Xiaoan will become her personal slave, obligated to fulfill her requests. Should he fail in any of his duties, the penalty is to run 1,000 laps around the school grounds while publicly declaring himself a fool. With the contract sealed, Nan Xiang swiftly gets to work. She soon reports to Xiaoan that the culprit is a male student from a rival school. She reveals her method. She contacted the boy directly, claiming to possess more compromising photos of Chenjer, which baited him into agreeing to a meeting. Together, Nan Xiang and Xiaoan go to the other school. Xiaoan brazenly lies to the security guard, claiming to be the principal's son, and gains entry. They confront the boy, with Xiaoan physically restraining him while Nan Xiang coolly delivers her ultimatum, threatening legal action and presenting a recorded confession as evidence. Thoroughly intimidated, the boy agrees to delete all the photos. Upon their return to their own school, they are spotted by Xiaoan's mother, who has come for a visit. Later at home, she questions her son directly about his feelings for Nan Xiang. Xiaoan vehemently denies any romantic interest, insisting that the entire school knows they are arch rivals. Meanwhile, Chenjer thanks Nan Xiang for her help, and Nan Xiang deflects the gratitude back onto Xiaoan. Chenjer then offers a piece of sisterly advice, warning Nan Xiang not to get involved in puppy love with him. Nan Xiang assures her she has no such intentions. This theme continues when Xiaoan's mother also pays a visit to Nan Xiang, and later, Nan Xiang's own mother questions her about Xiaoan. Nan Xiang gives the same steadfast reply: her sole focus is on her studies. Around this time, Nan Xiang notices that Yubai has been distancing himself from her. She assumes he has developed a romantic interest in another girl and is avoiding her to prevent misunderstandings. She tells him not to worry and that she will find another study partner, a declaration that saddens Yubai, who lacks the courage to confess his true feelings for her. He considers recording his confession on a USB drive, but ultimately cannot bring himself to do it. In a strategic move to motivate herself and her classmates, Nan Xiang anonymously posts a new school rule online, stating that upcoming exam results will determine class placements. High achievers will move up to Class 2, while low scorers will be demoted. The principal, seeing the post, surprisingly approves the idea. When the exam results are announced, Nan Xiang's marks show significant improvement, though they still fall just short of the threshold for promotion to Class 2. The English teacher correctly deduces that Nan Xiang was the source of the post, recognizing her ambitious drive. The new rule creates tension, with a student from Class 2 arrogantly stating that Nan Xiang could never surpass him. Xiaoan, however, confidently retorts that she definitely will. In another encounter, Xiaoan is waiting on the street for Nan Xiang, but she assumes he is there for someone else. As she's accepting a USB drive from Yubai, Xiaoan sees them and becomes irritated. He confronts her, asking if she cannot see him standing there, and reveals that he had been waiting for her specifically to give her a homemade lunchbox. His feelings are hurt when he realizes her assumption, and he leaves in a huff. Nan Xiang, feeling guilty, later finds him and apologizes. Xiaoan's anger dissipates quickly, and he gives her the lunchbox, though he cannot resist questioning her about the nature of the USB from Yubai. She maintains it contained only study materials, and he reluctantly accepts her answer. The narrative then shifts to the announcement of an upcoming song competition. Darling, a student in Class 7, performs poorly on an exam and is scolded by the English teacher. She defends herself by stating that she has been preoccupied with preparing for the song competition, but promises to focus on her studies afterward. The teacher, upon hearing about the competition, surprisingly encourages her passion for music. In class, Nan Xiang chooses to sit next to Yubai to study, an action that immediately provokes Xiaoan's jealousy. He begins coughing loudly to draw attention, then signals for her to come sit by him. She complies, teasing him that if they sit together, people might gossip and complain to his mother. He fires back, asking if she is implying they are in a relationship, a notion he publicly scoffs at even as his actions suggest otherwise. A subsequent incident involves the collection of USB drives by a teacher during an exam, as music was heard playing from several of them. Darling's USB, which contains her song for the upcoming competition, is among those confiscated and locked in the director's office. This creates a crisis, as the students need their USBs back. Xiaoan takes it upon himself to retrieve them, sneaking into the director's office when he believes it is empty. He is caught red-handed by the director, who is furious with his audacity and as punishment bans him from playing basketball. Nan Xiang scolds him for his reckless behavior, to which he emotionally retorts that he did it for her. The ban deeply affects Xiaoan, who is seen listlessly bouncing a basketball in class, his passion stifled. When the physics teacher reprimands him for his lack of focus, Xiaoan, uncharacteristically, offers a quiet apology instead of arguing back, shocking his classmates. Despite his own troubles, Xiaoan continues to bring lunch for Nan Xiang, sending it with a friend who eventually grows annoyed and tells Nan Xiang that Xiaoan's despondent state is her fault. Feeling responsible, Nan Xiang goes to comfort him. He again presses her about the USB from Yubai, and she reiterates that it was for studying. He admits he was worried about a romantic connection between them. Seeking to cheer him up, she encourages him to play basketball, and as he does, his spirits visibly lift. Seeing this, Nan Xiang devises a master plan. She proposes that the entire Class 7 participate in an upcoming basketball tournament. This would not only serve as a collective goal, but also provide a legitimate avenue for Xiaoan to play the sport he loves. She then persuades the English teacher to negotiate a deal with the director. If Class 7 wins the tournament, the director will lift Xiaoan's basketball ban and return all the confiscated USB drives. The director agrees to these terms. In an effort to quell any potential rumors and ease the concerns of their parents, Nan Xiang takes the proactive step of meeting with both Xiaoan's and Chenjer's mothers. She formally clarifies that her relationship with Xiaoan is purely platonic and that they are nothing more than classmates, a statement Xiaoan publicly corroborates by reiterating their famous rivalry. However, after this meeting, Xiaoan privately confesses to feeling strangely unsettled by her definitive denial of any romantic possibility between them. Nan Xiang explains that she only said it to prevent unnecessary worry for his mother. The plan to form a basketball team faces its first hurdle. With exams approaching, none of the students are willing to participate. Xiaoan and his friends try to rally their classmates, but only Darling, from the girls' side, initially volunteers. A comedic turn of events occurs when Xiaoan playfully scares Mei, the class monitor, by pretending to be a ghost. Her surprisingly swift sprint away from him is recorded by another student, who jokingly comments on their beautiful monitor's impressive speed. This incident is used to convince Mei to join the team. The next day, Darling arrives at school looking particularly well-groomed. When other girls compliment her and ask her secret, she casually attributes it to the exercise she gets from sports. This simple comment sparks interest, and the other girls, hopping to improve their own appearance, agree to join the team for the physical activity. The motivation for the boys is ignited when a challenge letter, purportedly from Class 2, arrives, taunting Class 7 and predicting their humiliating defeat. Incensed by this arrogance, the entire class unanimously decides to participate to defend their honor. Nan Xiang discusses the challenge with Yubai, and Xiaoan, arriving on the scene, confronts Yubai about it, confidently predicting a crushing victory for Class 7. Yubai, rising to the challenge, returns to his own class and manages to persuade his academically focused peers to form a team by offering them his coveted study notes as an incentive. Both Yubai and a classmate named Genius are later puzzled, as neither of them actually sent the challenge letter, leaving its origin a mystery. As the teams prepare, the teachers express concern about the impact on studying. Nan Xiao makes a bold promise to their teacher. Participation in sports will, in fact, improve the class's academic performance. Xiaoan, overhearing this, is motivated and begins actively encouraging his classmates to study. In a separate development influenced by Nan Xiang's knowledge of the future, she advises Yubai to warn his father against investing in a certain new company, which he does. A scheduling conflict arises as Dalink's music competition falls on the same day as the sports match. Nan Xiang selflessly volunteers to take her place in the relay race. She begins intense training, and during one practice session, Xiaoan runs alongside her, urging her not to push herself too hard. In a moment of fatigue, Nan Xiang stumbles and falls onto him. As they get up, she notices his flushed face and rapid heartbeat, and with amusing literalness advises him to see a doctor, completely missing the romantic implication of his physical reaction. This incident leads Xiaoan to seriously contemplate whether he has fallen in love with her. His friends offer him comical advice to test his feelings, suggesting a new hairstyle and feigning interest in another girl to provoke jealousy. He tries both tactics, arriving with a new look that Nan Xiang completely fails to notice, and then engaging Chenjer in conversation, but Nan Xiang remains seemingly unaffected. Finally, the day of the much-anticipated sports match arrives. The event begins with a war of words between the two classes. When it suddenly begins to rain, Xiaoan immediately holds an umbrella over Nan Xiang, a protective and tender gesture that brings a smile to her face and is noted with approval by their peers. The competition is fierce. Xiaoan wins the 400-meter race. In another event, a student named Liu Jiao demonstrates remarkable strength by lifting heavy boxes, earning her a spot in the shot put. Both Yubai and Xiaoan compete in a different race and tie for first place, sharing a respectful handshake afterward. Nan Xiang praises Yubai's performance but offers no similar compliment to Xiaoan, which stirs his jealousy once more. She explains to him that as a seasoned athlete, he should not need constant praise for his expected victories. In the end, through collective effort and determination, Class 7 emerges victorious. While Class 2 is naturally disappointed, they accept the outcome with sportsmanship. True to her word, the director lifts Xiaoan's basketball ban. The story segment concludes with a new development. The school chairman announces plans to demolish the old school building. Yubai, seeking to preserve this piece of their history, approaches Xiaoan with a proposal to save the building, and Xiaoan, setting aside their rivalry for a common cause, agrees to join the effort.